Hello everyone and welcome back to the Gcor show. It's been a while, but we're finally here back before the Gen.4 Season 3 Championship. Man, we've gone through a lot here in Gcor. Crazy to think that we're already in the third season of the Gen.4 era. And I think this is now going to be the 8th or ninth season. Let's see. Season 1, Season 2, Season 3, Season 4, Season 5, Season 6, Season 7. Yeah, the 8th season of the modern day era. So yeah, no, time flies. Definitely, time flies. And what a championship we had last season with Hurricane and Smudge going right down to the death, right down to the wire. Smudge taking the drivers' championship there for his first ever Gcor drivers' championship. Obviously, there was a lot of controversy between the champions of the constructors' championship. Was it McLaren? Was it Williams? I mean, Williams actually won the constructors twice, with McLaren winning it once in the space of about 24 to 48 hours. So definitely that was very interesting. But yeah, without further ado, let's get into this Gcor predictions for this season. Let's see how wrong I am once again, as always. But yeah, in P20. Oh yeah, by the way, little disclaimer. Kick Sauber, they haven't completed their full lineup currently. They're the only team on the grid which only has one driver instead of two, so yeah, keep that in mind. In P20 I have Joe Cast, and in P19 I've got Finn, P18 I've got Andreo, and P17 I've got Ben Rowe. The reason I've decided to do all four of these drivers together is because me personally, I've not seen them race. Pre-seasons happened, and especially the Aston Martins, they didn't get very good look. You know, they didn't impress, being involved in incidents, inconsistent lap times, and I mean, being a rookie these days in Gcor is definitely something completely different to being a rookie in Gcor, let's say, even, 3-4 seasons ago. So definitely it's a big steep learning curve for those four drivers in question. I've got them all at the back, in the four lowest positions. Hopefully they can show me wrong, and I do wish them the best in their career, but yeah, not really much to say there. I'm sure you can also guess the two teams at the bottom of the Constructors Championship, which I'll get to in a bit. In P16 I've got Commander. Currently he actually doesn't have a seat. He doesn't have a seat right now as we speak. He's heavily linked with that Kick Sauber seat, which I was saying earlier. But I do think we'll see Commander race this season. The reason I've put him in this list is because he's actually a reserve driver for Ferrari and Aston Martin. So, if any of those two teams need him, which I'm sure they will during the season, he'll definitely step up. And if we're looking at anything from last season, I think Commander was one of, if not the most improved driver on the Gcor grid. So if we're going off anything from last season, expect Commander to, when he does race, to definitely score points. He made a big step last season, and even if he doesn't have a full-time contract, I'm sure if he does do a couple races, he'll definitely score in them. Even his qualifying had improved towards the end of the season. He was beginning to qualify P4, P5, P6, ahead of the likes of the Williams, the GN7 Mercedes of Chiconas, and even the Haas. So yeah, kudos to Commander. P15. This may surprise some people, but I've got Latastic. This definitely is a very low position for Latastic. But the way he's been, moving, last season was it was a disaster of a season. Sorry, it's late here. It's late. It was a disaster of a season from Latastic. Nothing went his way. I know he got a bit unfortunate with some reliability issues, but just too many mistakes, too many DNFs really. Pace wasn't really there. Struggled a lot with the car. I mean, he got destroyed by Gibbo in the head-to-head. I mean, obviously I know the Alpine wasn't the best of cars last season, and it was definitely a very, very competitive grid. I mean, Gibber was thinking about calling it a day, thinking about retirement. But yeah, no, fantastic. P15. I mean, I think he'll do better, but I can't guarantee it, type of thing, you know? It's not a guarantee. So, yeah, I've got him there in P15. P14, I've got Fried Communism. I think last season, he showed some bright signs. You know, Silverstone managed to get a decent result there. General pace was, I mean, he seemed consistent. He seemed like a clean driver. Really, it's just that general pace, which I think is the most important thing as a Gcor driver. Along with consistency, obviously. As I said, I think he's already got consistency. It's just general pace, really, for Fried Communism. He joined the back end of last season, so it'll be interesting to see how much he's learned from the back end of last season and how fast he is going into this season. P13, I've got Peter Plays. Again, Peter Plays, I think, actually is a top 8 driver. I think he's a top 8 driver in Gcor as we speak. But it's just whether he can turn up enough races. Another driver who was plagued with some reliability issues. Made a couple mistakes here and there, but I think this is the fastest that we've ever seen Peter Plays. I mean, obviously, him getting his maiden podium at Monaco, how special was that? I mean, I think it was Kick Sauber's second podium in the history, and Peter Plays for him to get his first podium at Monaco. Man, that was definitely an emotional one. He's definitely got the pace. He's got the pace, and obviously he's still part of the GN7 family, GN7 Academy. If Ciconas doesn't perform well this season, who knows? Who knows? I mean, he was meant to get the permanent seat for last season, but then obviously Ciconas became available in the transfer market, and I mean, 5-time world champion. You know, only a handful of teams would turn that down. With all respect, obviously, as we've seen, Ciconas has come back and he struggled a lot. So maybe this season, if Peter Plays can show GN7 what he's about, he could get that seat. There's only one way to find out. Now, this is when really it starts getting tough. P12 have got Domi in the new Haas driver. Domi's fast. I've always said this, man. Domi's fast. You know, in another universe, he's a race winner. You know, obviously Spain, Gen.4 Season 1. So close, man. If DRS was enabled for another 30 seconds and he'd got past Hurricane, who knows? But Domi's fast. Small mistakes here and there, but I think for the pace that he has, definitely he's a special prospect. Again, though, it's whether he'll turn up to most of the races, because some drivers can get away with not turning up to a few of the races and still finishing quite high in the championship, and we saw Marshy last season. But that's only a rare few. If Domi doesn't really turn up this season, he could be out. He could be out of that Haas seat. You know, lately Haas have been trying to consolidate and solidify their spot on the grid. Last season finished P3 in the constructors. I think that's their joint highest in the history of Haas. So yeah, definitely this season they just want to move on from there. And in order to do that, they're going to need both Luigi and Domi, but I think even more so Domi to kind of push that team forward. As we saw last season, especially at Brazil, he's not afraid to get his elbows out. He's not afraid to race wheel to wheel, and you know, his racing IQ has definitely increased. So yeah, we'll see. P11, and again, the question goes down to whether he'll turn up. Cyrax, rapid driver, man, very fast. Last season he was fighting for the win at Australia. Obviously there was like an 8-car fight for the win, wasn't it? At Albert Park, and he was part of that 8 cars. Cyrax is very fast. It's whether he can turn up to enough races, you know. And I think that'll be the interesting part. I mean, now he's back at Red Bull, the place where, has he ever signed for Red Bull permanently? I'm not sure. I don't think he has. I know he was there, obviously, Gen.4 Season 2 in the finale as reserve driver for Gcor for Foop after he was banned going into the season finale. But yeah, Cyrix is another fast driver by GEN, just like Domi, just like Peter plays. How often would he turn up? You know, that's the big question. That's a big sign. If he's going to be consistent, then expect him to finish higher than, you know, the drivers have already got him higher than at least. No, expect him to be in that top 8. If not, who knows, man? Who knows? Now into the P10, into the top 10. In P10, I've got Gcor. Sorry, it's so late. Honestly, I'm so tired. In P10, I've got Gcor, and yeah, not much to say really from Gcor. Solid, really. You know he's going to put in a shift. You know he's going to turn up. You know he's going to score the team good points. Maybe on a crazy race he'll bag a podium. But yeah, with Gcor, I don't know. I don't really know. I think I made a video about, was it him? I think it was him. Or was it Charlie? I don't remember now. I think it was him though. Saying, I don't really understand where Gcor stands. Is he a future world champion? Or is he like a Hulkenberg, who's very dependable, very reliable, you know, a force to be reckoned with in the midfield? And I mean, any team apart from maybe the big 2 or the big 3 would take him. You know, he'd put in a shift. So yeah, again with Gcor, I'm expecting another decent season from him. Maybe a cheeky podium. Who knows, man? Who knows? Especially towards the end of the season, he showed great pace. And definitely without Gcor, Williams wouldn't have won the Constructors' Championship in Brazil. So yeah, definitely fair play to him. And in P9, just ahead of him, I've got Gcor at 75. There's already a lot of rumours going around the paddock saying that Gcor won't be here for the new era. Not era, but for the new rule set. The 25 rule set. And if that's the case, I mean, it would be a shame to see Gcor go out this way. You know, Gcor icon, the driver many people call the GOAT. But yeah, I do think he's going to finish P9. I think he's going to have a couple good races. But I think, again, I mean, when you've come in a season behind in terms of understanding the car and the characteristics of the car, you know, you lose. You know, it's hard to kind of catch up. I mean, it's definitely doable. But in this current point in time, Gcor at its, you know, most competitive it's ever been, it'd be tough. It's definitely tough, and you can see it. I think he'll get a couple decent results, and I think he'll actually get a podium this season, unlike last season. But yeah, in terms of race wins, I think he's still very far away, and don't even get me started on the championship as well. Last season, that GN7 car was decent. It was decent. I mean, you saw what Coward was able to do with it, especially in qualifying. In the race, Coward and Gcor were a bit closer. With the true drivers finishing back to back a few times actually throughout the course of last season. But yeah, no, I think Gcor he needs to try and get a little bit more out of that car. I mean, P3 was literally looking at GN7's face, you know, last season. They should have got P3. They didn't. Gcor put his hands up. If it wasn't for mistakes, such as the one at Coda, and safety car, or the one at Qatar. Who knows, man? Who knows? Obviously, he caught bad luck, like at Mexico. Very close to getting the podium before contact with Marshy. But you know, a driver of his caliber, I think it's definitely very sad seeing where he is, and I don't see it getting any better for him. P8, I've got Luigi. The reason I have him P8, I think he's a top 5 driver in terms of speed. Again, another driver I've been hearing rumours. He doesn't know how his future's going to stand. You know, he doesn't know whether he's going to be staying here long term. You know, the man who, crazy to think, it was only like 5 or 6 seasons ago, he was fighting for the championship against Hurricane, and now got him to be predicted P8. That's just how things switch in Gcor, you know. And yeah, Luigi's a fast driver, and again, it's whether he can turn up. For a lot of these drivers, it is whether they can turn up. I mean, it's becoming the boring answer, I know. But really, there'll be more to talk about the higher we go in this prediction video. You know, in P7, I've got Midget Matt. I think it's going to be a tough season for Midget Matt. The fact that he managed to win last season was crazy. You know, that was a miracle. I mean, fair play to Midget Matt winning once again at Silverstone, the king, round Silverstone. But yeah, I think P7, I don't think it's going to be his teammate Ollie Freeman. I think Ollie Freeman's going to have a slight upper hand on him. It'll be interesting to see his pace. Obviously, last season he was gone for pretty much the whole season, apart from the first 2 or 3 races. But yeah, it would definitely be interesting to see where Midget Matt lies. I think his pace, again, in terms of pace, I actually think is kind of close to guys like Gcor. But I think, you know, he's understood his car a little bit more. I think the Williams is going to be more predictable and less twitchy, especially under Midget Matt's control. And as a result, I think he's going to have more consistent finishes. You know, I think in terms of pure pace, he's going to be similar to Gcor, but I think in terms of consistency, he's going to have that upper hand, and I think P7 is going to be his. P6, Ollie Freeman. I think he's got pace. I think Ollie Freeman's definitely got pace. Coming back again, as I said, man, when you missing a season is crazy. I mean, I know Ollie Freeman didn't miss a full season, but he missed a lot of races during the season, you know, and he's gonna have to play a little bit of catch up because everyone's improved. Everyone has improved. It's not as severe as missing the first season of a new rule set, of new type of cars, because obviously in the first season everyone's still getting ready, you know, preparing. Everyone's in the same boat, so it's not as, because he did last, you know, season 1, Gen.4 season 1, he's not going to struggle as bad as, let's say, Gcor has. But obviously he's going to have to get the rust off. You know, you've got guys like Gcor and dare I say even Cyrax, guys who are still kind of learning about the car. I think with Ollie Freeman, I think he knows the car. I think he's got to dust off the cobwebs. Don't be surprised to see him finishing best of the rest, you know, finishing in the top 5. 5th place, I've got Charlie Doyle. You know, last season, especially towards the end, things kind of, you know, didn't go his way. I know he had a very good Grand Prix in Brazil. But yeah, really, I sat down with Charlie Doyle. I sat down with him in the off season, had a little chat, and he was saying it was very similar to his first couple seasons, where he was just getting involved in silly incidents, incidents where, yeah, not really avoidable, to be honest. Not really avoidable. Some being other drivers' faults, some others being racing incidents. But yeah, I mean, I think Charlie Doyle's got good quality pace, race pace, whether he can transfer that. I think at the start of the season, and this is kind of what I realized with Charlie Doyle, at the start of the season he is much closer to Hurricane. You know, last season I think at once, yeah, he did actually. I think Charlie Doyle did beat Hurricane at Australia. Season before that, obviously he managed to get his maiden win at Singapore. So I think at the start of the season, Charlie Doyle is very, very close to Hurricane. You know, in a similar way that, you know, Sergio Perez was very close to Max Verstappen at the start of the season. I'm not saying Charlie Doyle's a Sergio Perez and Hurricane's a Max Verstappen, but in terms of how the season kind of goes, where Charlie Doyle's very close to Hurricane, you know, I think that kind of comparison can be made. You know, he starts off quite close, and then with mistakes or drivers hitting him or this and that, the gap slowly becomes bigger. And with Hurricane always qualifying at the top, I think Hurricane kind of removes himself from being in danger, from, you know, threats from, outside threats, let's say. I think Ferrari is going to be a nice place for Charlie Dole. I think he's going to integrate himself very well, and he's there with Hurricane as well. So yeah, I think he'll do well. P4, I've got Marshy. I mean, Marshy left the second half of last season. Came back for one race and hit Chiconas. Got a lot of hate on social media and stuff. And yeah, I mean, Marshy's a fast driver. He's a fast driver. But some of the other top drivers, such as Hurricane and Charlie Dole, have accused Marshy, and they've even accused Smudge of being way too aggressive. Hitting them and doing all types of things. I think Marshy will finish fourth. He was actually within the title fight last season. I don't know why he left when he did leave, because whether he would have become champion, we'll never know. But definitely, I think P2 was on. I mean, he had the pace. Whether he had the consistency and the cleanness, I'm not sure. But yeah, the thing is with Marshy, I feel like some races is unstoppable, like Singapore last season. I think that was pole, that was fastest lap, and that was race win in changing conditions. But then some other races, we don't really see him on the pace. I mean, look at Japan last season. Finished P5 because of it was P4 actually. Finished P4. Chiconas made a mistake that day. Was in the gravel. He really didn't have pace. And then you see other weekends where some call him a bit reckless, such as Mexico. But I think raw pace, raw speed, he's definitely there, and I've got him fourth. Third, I've got Smudge, his teammate, reigning world champion. Again, Smudge is, I think last season he was the fastest driver. I think Smudge, I mean, I think it was deservedly world champion last season. It was very, very fast. He had a world champion mindset. He was aggressive when he needed to be, and respectful when he needed to be also. He was in the headlines for both the right and the wrong reasons, in terms of obviously there's all that talk at the start of the season with the track limits. He was definitely one of the drivers who wanted the track limits, at least in qualifying, to be stricter. At the end of the day, he's won the championship. Whether he'll go back to back, I don't think so. Reason being, I don't see Smudge staying again. I know last season he managed to stay for the entire year, but now that he's world champion, he's achieved a great feat in any race car driver's career. Every race car driver, when they're born, they think about becoming Gcor world champion. Smudge is now that guy. He's now a Gcor world champion. I don't see him having the motivation to go for the double, the back-to-back. I don't see him have the motivation to go for the 3P. I think he could if he wanted to, but I don't think he has a motivation. I think he'll do a few races. He'll definitely win a couple, and then, especially if the going gets tough, I'm not saying that he's weak-minded or weak mentally. I mean, how can he if he's reigning world champion? But I do have a feeling that he's gonna go at some stage of the season. I could be wrong, like last season. I hope I'm wrong, like last season. But that's the fact of the matter. Smudge is a fast guy. Me personally, I don't know if I fully trust him, but that McLaren team pairing is looking strong. In second place, I've got Coward. I think he's gonna go one better this season. I think he's got the pace. I think with Coward, really, it's just the mistakes and the getting involved in incidents. I mean, it's crazy to think after race 5, Chiconas was ahead of Coward last season in the championship. Crazy to think. And even the head-to-head, very, very close. I think in terms of race pace, it actually finished 5-5 between the two GN7 Mercedes drivers. I mean, if you include the sprint races, I think Coward won 9-7. But yeah, I mean, I'm not trying to disrespect Chiconas, but definitely the gap should have been much bigger between Coward and Chaconas. You know, towards the end of the season, Coward kind of fixed up, you know, where he was struggling and the mistakes and mentally and stuff. But now really it's about taking it race by race, one by one, corner by corner, not being too silly because he's got the pace. Now he just needs to stay with the top boys, with the big boys, make literally no errors. And I mean, if we see that, I can see a titanic fight I can see a freeway fight between Coward, Smudge, and the guy I said is going to be world champion, Hurricane. Ferrari, I think they're going to have their first world champion in Gcor, and that's going to be courtesy of the American-born Italian of Hurricane, driving for the Italian team, for the Scuderia. Monza is back on the calendar, so definitely that's going to be an emotional one for not only Hurricane but the entire Ferrari team. And yeah, I've gone with him champion. I've seen a little trend actually lately. Last season, Smudge pipped Hurricane to the title. Season before that, Hurricane won the title. Season before that, Tristan pipped Hurricane to the title. Season before that, Hurricane won the title. He beat Luigi. Season before that, Chaconas pipped Hurricane to the title. And to be fair, season before that, he wasn't fighting for the title. But you're seeing a little trend. And if we're going off recency, you know, what we've learned recently, he's going to be champion again, you know. But now, on a real, I think Hurricane is going to be hungry. I think this new move at Ferrari is just going to reinvigorate his career. It's going to give him more hunger, more motivation. Not just him, but Charlie Dore too, and everyone in the Scuderia. And I think Hurricane's going to be a real beast this season, a real force to be reckoned with. Obviously, we've had pre-season, and Ferrari struggled in pre-season. They did struggle in pre-season. Obviously, Hurricane picked up some damage from contact with the Aston Martin, I hear. But yeah, no, don't doubt the two-time champ. He'll be going for his third championship to really solidify himself with Chaconas, if he already hasn't. You know, obviously that's personal opinion. I think he has solidified himself as, you know, one of the guys you can consider the GOAT of Gcor. But obviously that's a story for another episode, you know, conversation for another episode. But yeah, I think Hurricane's going to be world champion this season. I think he's going to be motivated. Last season there were some crucial moments where, you know, the championship seemed to be gone. I look back at Singapore, that was definitely a big moment in Hurricane's title bid. I look back at I think Silverstone, he could have won there. There was a few places, man. There was a few places. But thing is, with Hurricane, you know he's always going to be up there, man. He's going to be consistent. He's going to be getting podiums, and I think this season is going to secure it. Constructors wise, I've got AlphaTauri P10, Aston Martin P9, because I mean they're the two teams who I've gone with completely new driver lineups. You know, 4 rookies filling out the 2 teams. I've gone with Sauber P8. I mean, we know Peter Plays is going to be racing for them. We're not sure who's going to be the second seat, so I think P8 is reasonable. P7 with Fried Communism and Cyrax, I've got Red Bull. I mean, I think Cyrax is going to be the #1 driver there. Fried Communism still learning about Gcor. I think he'll be, you know, the backup man. But I think they'll score some decent points. They'll definitely be fighting Sauber, Alpine, and depending on Haas, potentially even Haas. You know, that's my P7, P6, and P5. Haas P5, Alpine P6, and Red Bull P7. And basically, Haas, I think they're going to be P5 because I think Luigi will score enough points, but then not enough to be where they were last season, you know. And with Domi coming back, if Domi turns up, I can see that Haas team finishing 4th. But if Domi doesn't turn up, I can see them finishing even 6th, you know, even 7th, 6th or even 7th. And the reason I've got Alpine in P6, I think again another solid season. when you think about Alpine these days, you don't really think about pace, but you think about consistency. You know, they're always there to pick up the pieces. They're always there just trying to stay out of trouble, doing their own thing. And they're always there just scoring points. So I've got them P6. In P4, I've got GN7 Mercedes. I think their aim is definitely going to be to finish in the top 3 of the constructors, to be really where GN7 belong to be. And it's been a while since GN7 were in the top 3 of the constructors. I mean, last time was Gen.3 Season 4, sorry. Back when they had Chiconas and Midget Matt, when they finished 2nd. So definitely, it's been a while. Reason I say P4, I think Chiconas is going to struggle again this season. I think he's going to improve a little bit in terms of consistency, but I think he's going to struggle again. And I think he's going to be the downfall of that team. And my bold claim is that we won't be seeing Chiconas the season after. That's my bold claim. If he has a season very, very bad, I don't think we'll see him. I think Genius is going to take the brave decision of dropping Chiconas. Especially with, you know, I mean, if you're in Chiconas' spot, you haven't really got much, you know, to gain. You get me? You've achieved a lot, if not everything, in Gcor, and if you continue staying in the sport whilst declining, you're just gonna ruin your reputation, ruin your legacy, and ruin your records. But anyway, that's the story for another video. GN7 P4, I think Coward would be the man hauling over the points, as long as he can get a good start to the season. I reckon Coward does like a dodgy start to the season. As I said, after 4 or 5 races last season, Chiconas was ahead of him. He was ahead of him. So Coward needs to have a good start to the season, you know. In 3rd, I've got Williams in P3. I think Ollie Freeman and Midget Matt, solid pairing, very, very solid. In previous seasons, in Gen 3, this is a pairing that can go for the constructors title, without a doubt. Now, some things have changed. Drivers have come, drivers have gone, drivers have improved, drivers have declined, but they're still one of the top drivers. I mean, any team would want them, honestly. Ollie Freeman and Midget Matt, brilliant team pairing that, and they're going to work very well. Obviously, they know each other. Last season, the two even went go-karting, you know. So, definitely, I think that team's going to be very strong, and I think it's going to be good vibes. Good vibes. They also know how GN7 Mercedes work, you know, so I reckon they'll bring some of the GN7 Mercedes knowledge to Williams, if they already haven't, and yeah, that's going to be a strong team. P2 and P1 now. Different teams, but same 4 drivers. But I think in P2, I'm going to have McLaren. Let's not forget, McLaren now have Smudge and Marshy, not Hurricane and Charlie. Honestly speaking, on paper, that's the fastest. That's outright the fastest driver lineup we have. But it's whether they'll be consistent, you get me? And I'm not saying, when I'm talking about consistency with them, you know, in terms of turning up, is different to consistency with guys like Peter, guys like you know, Cyrax, Domi. I think when you're speaking about the big boys and consistency, I'm talking about completing, you know, turning up to 9 of the 12 races, 10 of the 12 races. If you're fighting at the top, you've got to turn up to all 12. You know, you have to turn up to all 12. And I think that, you know, the boys will turn up to probably 9 or 10 of the races instead of the 12, and that's how they'll lose it. They'll be playing a bit of catch up, and Ferrari will beat them to it, you know. I think Hurricane and Charlie, I think they're going to secure it. Most dominant driver pairing in the history of Gcor, and yeah, they know what to do. They've been in this sport for a long time. As I said, they're going to have the fire burning in their stomach. They're going to have the support of the Tifosi behind them, and they're going to be hungry after last season. Some say getting robbed of the title. Some say they lost it, and it was due to their own fault. Whatever you think, they're gonna have that hunger. They're gonna have that fire. Just because they're wearing red now doesn't change anything. I think guys need to know that. But yeah, anyway, that was my prediction, guys, for the season. Bit of a long video, sorry. But yeah, I hope that you guys enjoy it. See you for race 1 at Suzuka, and goodbye.